Welcome to another episode of Hoosier Nerds Podcast with your hosts, Chris, Tim, and Mikey. No one is here this week, so this is a Chris takeover. Wow, 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 wow. So, Chris with a K, the grumpy old man. So I can complain for a full hour about whatever I want, and I don't have to hear, okay, boomer, or quit your whining, or you're wrong. Because today I am right about everything, because this is my podcast. It is the Hoosier Chris podcast, and I'm your host. So, Chris with a K's taking over. I can talk about whatever I want, and I am going to do just that. Talk about whatever I want. So, there will be no video games, there will be no Star Trek. So, this episode will not put you to sleep, I hope. Um, but anyway, and the Cowboys suck, but they really don't, and I'm kind of upset about that. But anyway, that's NFL. That's later. So we're going to cut to the chase because Chris is going to cut to the chase right now, and he is going to bring up some IndyCar news. So hopefully there's some race fans out there, but IndyCar has a lot of news in the past week, and it has been awful. Um, this diehard IndyCar fan, who I've been a fan of IndyCars since 1981. So that tells you one, how old I am, and two, that I've been a fan almost of my whole life. Um, so 50 years, 40 years, 40 years, I'm sorry. No, 42 years? 42 years I've been an IndyCar fan. So, um, anyway, so first off, IndyCar was trying to go with a hybrid kind of motor because they're trying to keep up with other forms of racing and hybrid cars and I'm all about evolution. Um, I'm all about let's move on to the next thing. I get it. I understand it completely. They're supposed to start the season in St. Pete in March with the new hybrid motors. That has now been pushed back to after the Indy 500. So we may not even see hybrid motors this year. So Chevy and Honda have been trying to develop hybrid motors for a while now, and apparently there's been some mega issues with them. So we're not seeing hybrid motors, which I don't care. I come from a day where they were ran by Cosworths and V6 normally aspirated motors. So I'm really not or turbocharged motors. I'm sorry, but they were V6s. They were loud. Oh my God, what a sound! Those V6s. They were Buicks essentially. But I'm from an era where we're just Ford, it's a Cosworth motor, which is based off an old Ford motor probably. But I don't care what kind of motor's in the car. Um, they did say that they were delaying a new chassis, which is upsetting as all get out because we've had the same chassis since 2012. Not we, but IndyCar fans, IndyCar in general. This chassis came out in its first uh, rollout in 2012. So we've had the same chassis going on. It's what 11th year, 12th year, right? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 12th year, 24. 13th year. It's ridiculous. Um, so no new motors and no new chassis. While we're at it, Honda, which Honda is one of the manufacturers in IndyCar, there's two, Honda and Chevrolet. They have said that if there are not any cost reductions by 2026, that they could pull out completely. They're counting on a third engine manufacturer to come in, and they've been trying to get a third engine manufacturer for years now, and they haven't had a third engine manufacturer since the new cars came out in 2012 with the Lotus, and that was very short-lived. So we could be, if they don't make changes right away with this everything is fine attitude at 16th in Georgetown, then we may not have much of an IndyCar series come 2026 or 2027. Um, there's a reason people are jumping NASCAR's. They got a new generation car next year coming out. IMSA introduced new cars and motors. The GTP division in 2023, they had record crowds at Daytona, Sebring. Um, they raced in Indianapolis this year. for 2 hours and 45 minutes. This coming year in 2024, it's going to be a 6-hour race. Not only that, they have a new manufacturer in the GTP division, which they already have Acura, which is Honda, Acura, Porsche, Cadillac, uh, BMW, right? So there's 4 Acura, yeah, Acura, Porsche, Cadillac, BMW. They got Lamborghini, so that's 5. 5 engine manufacturers with cars, and they are awesome. Not only that, Ford stepped into the program in the GT division to take on the Corvettes with this nasty sounding Mustang that was testing down at Daytona. Then I saw some video on it. So things are going IMSA's way. Now IMSA is owned by NASCAR. So I mean, there's been a question: should IndyCar sell to NASCAR? Should IndyCar sell to Liberty Media, which runs Formula One? Would they be better off? Right now, I saw a tweet. Actually, there's a tweet from my cousin. He said that IndyCar is basically just a good old boys club of good old they're club racers, happy to race their cars. And don't get me started on the well, it's great racing and the parody's awesome and it's so competitive. It's really not. I did a comparison because we all know about the IndyCar split in 1996 that really just ruined IndyCars basically, still to this day, and has split. So I took the 16 years prior to the split, so I went from 1980 to 1995, okay, to see how many IndyCar champions we had. Teams, race teams, IndyCar champ, difference in race teams. And I came up with 8 different race teams that won a championship between 80 and 80. 1980 and 95, I can list them. Johnny Rutherford with Jim Hall Racing in 1980, Penske, 81, 82, and 83. 84 was Newman Haas. 85 was Penske. 86 and 87 was True Sports. 88 was Penske. 89 was Patrick Racing. 90 was Gallus Craco Racing. Let's see here. Who won in 91? 91 was Newman Haas. 92 was Ray Hall Hogan. So there's 7. And then 93 was Newman Haas. 94 was Penske. 95 was Forsyth Green Barry Green Racing. Really, that's 8 different teams won a championship over a span of 16 years. It's a pretty good average, but Penske really salt and peppered in there, won the most obviously, and Newman Haas won a few in there as well, 3. So that's 8 championships. So then I took the amount of champions between that was then in 1996 they split between the Indy Racing League and Champ Car, whatever you want to call it. So then I took the reunification year of 2008, and that was 16 years ago. So how many championship winning teams have we had since 2008? We've had 3. 3 winners, 3 different teams have won the championship since 2008. That's Ganassi, Penske, and Andretti Autosport or Andretti Global, whatever it is now. They raced the old cars from 2008 to 2011. They introduced the new cars in 2012. That was the year that Andretti Autosport won in 2012. Every year since then, from 2013 to last year, has been either won by a Penske or a Ganassi. So you tell me where the parity and the competitiveness is. Indianapolis, since its inception, we've had, since the car's inception in 2012. So you had Ganassi win in 12, Vassar Sullivan in 13, Andretti Autosport in 14, Penske in 15. So there's 4 different teams, right? So 16 was Andretti, 17 was Andretti, 18, 19 was Penske, 20 was Ray Hall, Lanning and Letterman. 21 was Elios, so that's Meyer Shank, and then Meyer Shank was in 21, and then 22 was Ganassi, 23 was Penske. So 6 different teams have won at the Indianapolis 500 since the inception of this new car. So, and that's since 2000. That's since 2008 because Ganassi won in 8, um, Penske won in 9, and 10 and 11 was 10 was so 7 since 2008 since the inception. So there is it a competitive series? Yeah, they all qualify close, but in the end, at the end of the season, it's the same two teams winning the championship every year. That's not parity. That's not, you know, when we had different chassis, different motors, different manufacturers, we had a lot different um, tire manufacturers. We had different motor manufacturers, different tire manufacturers, different car manufacturers. There were 3 different chassis in the late 80s, early 90s. We had, multiple chassis manufacturers and mid 90s. You had Lola, Honda. Well, you had Lola, March, and Penske for a while. Then you had Penske, Lola, and Reynard. So you still had 3 chassis, but you had more parity, more competitiveness, more variety throughout the years. So IndyCar is in big trouble, I think. If you say it's not, that oh well, we got Milwaukee back, it's not enough. Well, having a race is back is not enough. I will go. My goal this year is to go to the Indy 500, to the Grand Prix. I will do my month of May like I do my month of May, but my focus really, I'll watch IndyCar racing. My focus really is going to be on the IMSA Championship. Andretti Autosport has bought into Wayne Taylor Racing in IMSA. So I've got a team to root for there automatically. So I'll be rooting for Wayne Taylor Racing at Daytona, Sebring onwards. They'll be racing in Indianapolis in September. So I'm pretty excited about doing that. I had planned on maybe going to Milwaukee, St. Pete maybe, or even possibly Mid-Ohio. I'm skipping all that. I'm going to skip all that and just go to the IMSA race. I'm not putting my money there because they don't care. They don't listen to the fans. They don't know what the fans want. They don't care about any of it. So Kris is skipping. So he's on a kind of a sort of a boycott, except for the 500. So, but race fans, our IndyCar series is in big trouble. And if you say it's not, then you're got your head in the sand. So we will see what happens and what progresses in the foreseeable future. But the whole new chassis is bogus. The motor issues are bogus. I can see why Honda's pulling out. They're not getting value for their dollar. You got to have value for their dollar. It's got to make money sense, and right now it does that. And nobody out there wants to build a 2.2 liter turbo motor for IndyCar racing. They just don't want to do it. A hybrid. It's a waste of money. So that's how I feel about IndyCar racing. I love IndyCar racing. But in my day, well, yeah, because obviously it was better in my day because, we didn't have these issues. We had other issues to deal with. But, all Penske can do is slap a new coat of paint on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and we're good to go. Yippee ki-yay. It's just not working for me. I'm sorry. So it's a sad state of affairs. So I'll go to the race in May. Come September, I will be at the Speedway for IMSA. I'm pretty excited about it. So there is that. We've got that out there. Sorry, I rambled, but it's my show and I can talk about whatever I want. All right, so kiss my booty. Onward next. I'll cover the NFL. Uh, Justin Herbert of the Chargers broke his finger, so he is out for the season now. That's a shame. I do feel bad he broke his finger, but I don't. It, I'm not a Chargers guy. I'm a Raider guy. Sadly, very very sadly, I'm a Raiders fan. We'll get to them in a minute. But Justin Herbert's out. I don't care. Don't bother me none. I don't like Chargers anyway. Never liked the Chargers. They should have never moved out of San Diego. Now let's get to the Raiders, which earlier this year, if you had been listening to the podcast, I boycotted the Raiders and the season. I was not wearing any Raider jerseys, no Raider hats, nothing until They fired Josh Jacobs. And I got my wish, and they fired Josh Jacobs. But they have not gotten any better. Jimmy Garoppolo's been benched for Aiden O'Connell, which I'm glad because they should have never gotten O'Connell. Uh, the worst thing that's come out since Josh Jacobs was fired was that the Raiders wanted C.J. Stroud for the Texans, and he said, no, Garoppolo is my man. So that tells you everything you need to know about Josh McDaniels. But they lost on Sunday. The Raiders did. They are now 5-8 in the division. And the rest of the season, they'll lose the rest of the season because they've got. I mean, they could win Thursday. This Thursday, they got the Chargers this coming week. Then they have the Chiefs on Monday night, the Colts on New Year's Day. Well, they have the Chiefs on Christmas Day. Wow. They have the Colts on New Year's Eve, and then they have the Broncos at the end of the year. So they will lose those last 3 games, possible 4 games. But anyway, they came off. So they beat the Jets 16-12 in week 10. Week 11 they lost 20-13. They could have won that game. They lost 31-17 to the Chiefs. That's not a surprise. It's the Chiefs, right? We'll get to Mahomes the crybaby later. But they lost this past week. They've come off a bye week. How do you come off of a bye week and lose 3-0? Is this 1962 to the Vikings? We lost 3-0, and the freaking game, the field goal was not scored until the fourth quarter, so it was a scoreless tie for 3.5 or more quarters of the game. It was like close to the end of the game actually when they kicked that field goal. So they lost 3-0 to the Vikings on Sunday. It's a sad state of affair in Las Vegas. They showed a video of Vikings fans in Las Vegas. The worst thing they could have ever done was move that team to Las Vegas. The worst thing any team could have done was move to Las Vegas because you're never going to have a home crowd, ever. It's just not happening. All I heard was I saw just a sea of Viking fans and a skull chant, which is great for the Vikings. But, Vegas is a tourist destination. So fans are going to travel. And I've seen it I've seen it, I've seen this in the past right before my eyes in Tampa. Tampa had the problem for years, and they still may. I don't know. I don't watch the Bucks. But I went to a Bear game one year, the Bears and the Bucks, and Bear fans travel, and Packer fans travel, and Jets, Giants fans travel, Buffalo fans travel. A lot of teams travel to Tampa because they take in their favorite team at they can get good seats for the Bucks. They can go to Disney World, they can go to Universal, they can hang out at the beach all week. It don't matter. It's just, it is what it is, I don't see how the Raiders are ever going to have a home field advantage ever again. And you're not going to get, if they're good, you're not going to get cheap seats. It's just a good team makes your prices of your tickets go up. So even the casual fan. Now they have that stupid Formula One race in November in Vegas. So you got about a month and a half of bad traffic. So who wants to go to a football game until December? Essentially, you're traveling to Vegas in December to go to a football game where you get somewhat of a full the full Vegas experience, I would say, because that Formula One race has got all of everything just shut down. You're relegated to the south end of the strip if you're trying to go to a Raider game in October, November. So they lose 3-0. I don't see the current interim coach keeping his job at this point if they keep losing the way they do. Meanwhile, the Cowboys keep winning. It's depressing to see. So we've got that. The Bears beat the Lions. I don't know what's happening to the Lions. They got beat 28-13. How do you lose to That's a divisional game, I suppose. That's how the Colts got smothered, 34-14, by the Bengals without their quarterback, Joe Burrow. There was a lot of odd winners this week. Cleveland beat the Jags with Joe Flacco. Good for Joe Flacco. Of course, the Panthers got beat, firing uh, Frank Reich. Obviously, did nothing for that team. They're still 1-12. The Texans got blown out by the Jets, 30-6. The Seahawks, the 49ers are going to be. I think the 49ers are the team to beat. Bills beat the Chiefs. Mahomes was whining and crying on the sidelines. But that was a bad call. Dude, your guy lined up offsides. It wasn't a bad call. Well, they could have warned. If they're warning people about offsides, then there's an issue there. Why don't they warn the defense? They only warn the offense? Um, Broncos keep winning. They're 7-6 now over the Chargers. Cowboys spanked the Eagles. So the Cowboys are looking good, but I don't know if they're going to peak too early and then just take a crap in the playoffs like they always do. Titans beat the Dolphins, which was amazing, 28-27, and the Giants beat the Packers. I wouldn't want to be a Packer fan this year. They look good some games, other games are just horrible. And they lost to the Giants, so there you go. But that's my NFL news. The Raiders are horrible, worse than horrible, but at least they don't have Josh McDaniels anymore, so I'm pretty happy about that, I must say. So we'll see what happens, but other than that, that is sports news. The Pacers lost to the Lakers in the end season thing. I ain't too worried about it. I did notice it is hard to watch LeBron James play basketball. Jordan was, you knew you were seeing magic. You really did. I can say this because I'm old and grumpy and I don't care. Bird, you knew you were witnessing magic. But LeBron just, with his whining and complaining, is just, it gets on my nerves so much. It's just not fun to watch. It really isn't. And he flops himself all over the ground. Now he's getting Anthony, what's his name? Davis? Is that what it is? The guy with the eyebrows. Anyway, he's out there flopping now, and it's just not the same. And oh my God, those guys cannot. It's just bad basketball. It is really bad basketball. It's like watching pickup games at the park, back when people went and played pickup games at the park. But that's my NBA news. That's my NFL news, and there is 165 days left till the 108th Indianapolis 500 on May 26th. So just got to throw that out there real quick. Now we can talk about movies because, it's my podcast. I can talk about whatever I want. I will say this, 1986, this day in 1986, which is the 12th, which yesterday was the 11th, right? So that was the anniversary of the Lufthansa heist. The movie Goodfellas is based on the Lufthansa heist. They pulled that off on December 11th, 1978. So yesterday was Happy Lufthansa Heist Day yesterday, the 11th of December. On this day, though, in 1986, you had two awesome movies come out in the same day. You had actually had three. Two in 86, and then, but The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy is a very underrated, should I say, Eddie Murphy movie in The Golden Child. I quote The Golden Child quite a bit. But that came out on this day in 1986, along with another great movie, which is very quotable, which is The Three Amigos with Chevy Chase, Martin Short, and Steve Martin. I quote this movie all the time, especially with Infamous, which we know. The infamous El Guapo. Infamous means that he is more than famous. So don't forget about the singing bush. But The Three Amigos is a great movie. If you haven't seen The Three Amigos or The Golden Child, I highly recommend both of them. And on this day in 1992, The Muppet Christmas Carol came out with Michael Caine as the Scrooge. This is a great Christmas Carol movie. I don't care what they say. This is my favorite. I've already watched it this year. So, but The Muppet Christmas Carol came out on this day in 1992, 31 years ago, which is depressing because 31 years ago I was only 20. That's sad. But in 86 I was only 14. But I did go see, honestly, I did go see The Golden Child at the movie. Because Eddie Murphy only made rated R movies back then, and I was 14. So I was able to go see this one because it was PG-13. But we quote the movie quite a bit. The Golden Child. I highly recommend it. Um, that is my life of movie news. We can talk about Christmas movies, or are they Christmas movies? And this is a great debate. Um, Movies that are set at Christmas time but aren't necessarily Christmas movies, which you could say Lethal Weapon is right up there with it. Um, I put Home Alone in that. I put Home Alone as not a Christmas movie because nothing happens on Christmas. They do not. Nothing happens on Christmas until he wakes up and his mom walks in the door and his family walks in the door. All of that happens on Christmas. Everything else is a precursor to Christmas. Um, Obviously, I mean, it's a Die Hard. It's a kid like Die Hard. So that happens on Christmas Eve when they try to break in, and there's that. And then I was watching one of my favorite movies of all time, which is the 1980. Did it come out in 85? I believe it did. Yeah, it came out in 1985. Better Off Dead, starring John Cusack. Um, it was released in October of 85. October 11th of 1985. So we can say that it is a Christmas movie because it does have a Christmas scene in it, you know. But you like the corn in this one, Lane, because his mom just buys him TV dinners. It's about a guy, his girlfriend dumps him for a guy that's a better skier than him. That's John Cusack, so he tries to figure out ways to kill himself. And, but it's got John Cusack, David Ogden Stiers, David Ogden Stiers. He was in MASH, I believe. Kim Darby, who was in the John Wayne movie that won John Wayne an Oscar. Oh my God. Um, True Grit. She was in True Grit. She played Maddie Ross. Um, but she's like his goofy mom. Diane Franklin. Diane Franklin was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Of course, then you have actually, you have Yuji Okamoto. Yuji Okamoto was actually he was in the Karate Kid Part 2. He was the bad guy. He was in Chosen. He's also showed up in Cobra Kai as Chosen, but he plays a guy that only learned to speak English by watching ABC's Wide World of Sports. So he talks like Howard Cosell. Amanda Wyss is in it. She's been in a few movies. She's in A Nightmare on Elm Street. Curtis Armstrong plays John Cusack's best friend Charles Dumar, which he's hysterical. He steals every scene he's in. As does then you have Dan Schneider. And I'll get to Dan Schneider in a second. But the scene stealer is Lori Waterbury. Laura Waterbury is just a bit actress there. She plays Mrs. Smith, and she's hysterical in this movie. Every scene she's in, she's very funny. But we'll get to Dan Schneider. So Dan Schneider plays Ricky Smith. Ricky Smith is this introvert that just sits in his house all day and sniffs nasal spray. And his mom gets him a foreign exchange student to try and bring him out of his shell. And he's like got creepy stalker vibes, which we've all heard the rumors of creepy stalker vibes from the cast of iCarly and Uh, what's the other one? Victorious. So there are some creepy stalker vibes. I guess it came to fruition because he does come off as a creepy stalker, um, or a creepy pervy stalker in this movie. Dan Schneider does, but obviously that's all rumors and speculation. Obviously, I don't have any concrete evidence that has occurred. I just know what I've heard from, uh, read on social media, which we don't know how true it is. But actresses have come out against Dan Schneider. Jeanette McCurdy from iCarly and Sam and Cat have. So um, there's that. So, but Better Off Dead, I've considered it now. It is a Christmas movie. So there you go. That's all there is to it. Watch Better Off Dead. It's on Showtime. It's on um, what else? Prime. Oh, you can rent it on Prime. I watched it on like Plex or something, and then I DVR'd it because I found it. It's one of my favorite movies. John Cusack in the '80s made spectacular movies. That One Crazy Summer, of course, Say Anything. The Sure Thing wasn't bad. Of course, Gross Point Blank was freaking awesome, but that didn't come out until '90s, so um, late '90s. But if you haven't seen any of these movies, Better Off Dead, One Crazy Summer, or Say Anything, make sure you check them out. They're really good. They're highly entertaining. Um, don't forget, and then of course we quote Better Off Dead with, this is pure snow. The street value of this mountain, and of course you have um, Johnny the newspaper boy that wants his $2, and he chases him all over town for $2. And I think that would be a great Comic Con costume. Um, would be to dress up as Johnny from uh, um, from Better Off Dead. But that's just me. I think it's a good idea. Speaking of Comic Con, um, we talked about the people, celebrity guests, right? They have uh, released two more names um, this year or this coming year for Comic Con, and it's going to be a home improvement uh, Comic Con apparently, but not really. But it's Tool Time from Home Improvement, the '90s classic Tim Allen TV show. We have Debbie Dunning, who was the Tool Time girl, and then we have Richard Karn, who was Al Borland. So, um, I don't know. I try not to. I'm kind of excited about Comic Con. I really am. I do enjoy going to Comic Con, but um, that's just the story of Comic Con. Indiana. We're in Indiana. We can't get the big people, obviously, and they are making that evident. We can meet. I remember when I was a kid, not a kid, but a teenager living in Florida, and you could meet people like that, like Tim, like Al Borland, or even Pamela Anderson at car shows. You can meet these celebrities at car shows, and they didn't charge you $100 for meet and greets and pictures and all that stuff. So, but car shows have kind of gone by the wayside. I know here in Indiana we still have 500 World of Wheels, and they had, I believe, not too long ago, Tony Stewart was there. I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been there. Um, they had Catherine Bach, I think, was there. So, but you could just stand in line and you would meet them for free. But back in the day, you can meet Star Trek people. I remember Scotty from Star Trek was that uh, car show. You could meet celebrities at car shows, and you would go to car shows. Car shows were great. They were like $10, $12 to get in, and you saw every brand new car out there. Car manufacturers. This back when GM had everything. They had, of course, you had um, Chevy, Cadillac, Pontiac, Buick. Um, Chrysler had their line of cars. You could sit in a Porsche, you could sit in a Lotus, or you could. They had Lamborghinis, they had um, Ferraris, and you could sit in these cars, and it was really cool. Then they would have different booths set up, car booths. They would give out free stuff. They had race cars there. They would have Indy cars there, or IMSA cars, or NASCAR stock cars there. They just had a variety of different stuff, and it was really cool to see. They had a few concept cars, um, but car shows were fun to go to. They really were. Um, Now it's like specialty stuff, like hot rods and things like that, because new cars are all the same and they're shitty and they don't have anything cool anymore. But I was watching an old race today, an old stock car race. I was watching the Daytona 500 from 1989. And I see this car commercial. It was a Chevy dealership out of North Carolina, I believe, or South Carolina. And you could get brand new cars. You could get a brand new Celebrity, 1989 Celebrity. This was February of 89. So you could get an 89 Celebrity, Corsica, Beretta, or a full-size Chevy pickup truck. They were running a sale, $10,995 or $199 a month. So you could get a full-size pickup truck for $11,000 in 1989. Um, so that's pretty awesome. They didn't have the crew cabs back then. Those were special. They were called super cabs, and they just had back seats in the. There wasn't like a full back seat, and they would take away from the bed. You had the full bed. So it's a 2-passenger or 3-passenger pickup truck. But it's a full size. So you can get a full size pickup truck for $11,000. I remember my dad buying a full size Ford F-150 in 1983 for $49.95. So you could buy it because trucks weren't cool back then. You didn't buy pickup trucks. Farmers bought pickup trucks, or construction guys bought pickup trucks. They weren't the $90,000 behemoth pickup trucks with heated seats and luxury that everybody buys now. So, um, I don't know if I could afford a car right now with the way everything is. But $11,000 back then, that was a pretty good deal for a brand new car. That plus $199 a month. Shoot, that's pretty good. But the cost, gas was 89 cents a gallon. Food was cheap. Blah 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 blah. In my day, but I can be my day grumpy old man Kris, because that's my job right now as I carry this podcast. So, I'm about done with my Christmas movie watching. I watched about everything under the sun, anything popular. I didn't go into sequels. Like I watched The Santa Claus, but I lost my Disney because I let it expire. So I didn't watch Santa Claus 2 or 3. Of course, I watched Christmas Vacation and I watched Elf. And I did watch Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. Do not sleep on Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. I know Muppet Christmas Carol, I watched it. That is a great movie. But Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas was put out by Jim Henson in 1977. I watched it as a kid on HBO. It was an HBO project, I believe. It was a special. I remember seeing it on HBO. We watched it every Christmas on HBO. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. One of the greatest Christmas stories for kids ever. I highly recommend it. It is actually it is streamed this year. I believe it is on Peacock, if I'm not wrong. Let me look that up for you real quick. But I'm gonna say that Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is on Peacock. Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is on Peacock and Amazon Prime. So if you have either one of those, watch it. It's about a poor otter family risks everything for the chance to win the cash prize of a talent contest for Christmas. It's Emmett and they're otters, Emmett and his mom. They live in, they live on a river, and it's a cute show. It really is. It's got some great music. The music, I believe, is done by Paul Williams. If I'm if I understand correctly, I believe he wrote the music um, yes, Paul Williams. He wrote, yeah, he wrote the song. He wrote every song on here. And who's Paul Williams, you say? Well, if you are a fan of uh, Smokey and the Bandit, you remember Big Enos and Little Enos, right? The two guys that they're running um, to go get the beer run. That's Big Enos and Little Enos. Paul Williams was Little Enos. So let's say, let's see what he's written. He wrote. Oh, he was in Planet of the Apes too. Um, let's see what we got here. I think he wrote. He's wrote a bunch of stuff. Biggest songs. Let's Google this and let's see what Paul Williams is. He does Comic Cons. He was at Comic Con in Indianapolis last year. He did Moving Right Along. That's from the Muppet movie, I believe. Um, We've Only Just Begun. That's by the Carpenters. Um, You and Me Against the World. Say Goodbye Today. Carole King. So Paul Williams has wrote a lot of songs. Um, I want to donate. Yeah, he wrote Old Fashioned Love Song by Three Dog Night. Just an old fashioned love song, right? We've Only Just Begun by the Carpenters. Rainy Days and Mondays. Hanging around. Nothing to do but frown. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. He wrote that. Cried Like a Baby for Bobby Sherman. Yes, he wrote the Rainbow Connection. Everybody knows the Rainbow Connection, um, from the Muppet movie. Someday you'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers. Someday we'll find it, the Rainbow Connection, the lovers, the dreamers, and me. So he sang that, or he wrote that. He wrote Evergreen, which is from A Star Is Born with Barbara Streisand. Love, soft as an easy chair, something like that. Um, he won a Grammy for Song of the Year and an Academy Award. And, of course, he wrote, you cannot sleep on this, one of the most famous songs in the history of the world. He wrote the lyrics to the opening theme for the television show The Love Boat. The Love Boat soon will be making another run. The Love Boat. Something for everyone. Anyway, he wrote that. But God, he just wrote so much stuff. Actually, Daft Punk did a Paul Williams song called Touch in 2013. I did not know that. And then You're Gone by Diamond Rio was a number 4 hit on the country charts. It's amazing the stuff he's wrote for. He did music for Thunderbolt and Lightfoot. Of course, like I said, Star is Born with Barbara Streisand and Kris Kristofferson. The Boy in the Plastic Bubble. He did music for that. He wrote a song for The Secret of Nim, which is a popular cartoon. He did the music for the Muppet Christmas Carol as well. So he's just a very talented songwriter. Like I say, he's Little Enos. You would know him as Little Enos from Smokey and the Bandit. So I don't know how I got onto because Paul Williams wrote all the music to Emma Otter's Joke Band Christmas. That's why. That's how I got on that kick. So, but there's that. So watch Emma Otter's Joke Band Christmas. I only have a few more Christmas movies to watch, and then I'm done. I've got to finish watching The Night Before, which is one of my all-time favorite movies with Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Anthony Mackie. It's a great Christmas movie. And it is not even Christmas Day, it is Christmas Eve. So to say Die Hard's not a Christmas movie, you're stupid because it happened on Christmas Eve. Um, but I've got to watch The Night Before. Of course, Trading Places is a It is not really considered a Christmas movie, I don't think, but it is a Christmas movie. It is done around Christmas time and New Year's Eve. It's a holiday movie, let's put it that way. And then with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd and Jamie Lee Curtis, Ralph Bellamy, Don Amici, as a Denholm Elliott is a spectacular. It is hilarious. It's a great movie. Check it out. Um, and then I have my new favorite Christmas movie to watch, which is Violent Night. And I've had a hard time. I guess it's just the way it sounds, Violent Night. Everybody thinks you tell people that they should watch Violent Night because it is a great Christmas movie, and they're like, "No, I don't like horror movies," and it is not a horror movie. It is essentially John McClane as Santa Claus, basically. David Harbour from Stranger Things plays Santa Claus. I reviewed this last year. Me and Josie went to the movie on a whim. We were Christmas shopping last year, and like, let's go check this movie out. We were out shopping, not even Christmas shopping. We were, what am I kidding? Who am I trying to kid? We weren't even Christmas shopping. We were shopping for ourselves, buying records and CDs and music. But we started out in Fort Wayne, drove to Kokomo, and ended up watching Violent Night with David Harbour, John Leguizamo. A bunch of mercenaries take people hostage in this mansion, and Santa Claus comes and saves the day. And it's got great kills. It's funny. It's clever. It's exciting. It's fun. I highly recommend it. You got to check it out. Um, Violent Night with David Harbour, my new favorite Christmas movie. And then, of course, if you're going to watch any kind of TV Christmas specials, the Andy Griffith Show's got a great Christmas special that I enjoyed. Also, The Big Bang Theory is one of my favorite TV shows in the world, and their Christmas episode, which I believe is in season 2. Yeah, the bath item gift hypothesis is one of the best Christmas episodes of The Big Bang Theory ever. Um, it is played regularly on TBS. It's also on HBO Max. You can try it out. But the bath gift hypothesis is one of the best Christmas TV episodes I've ever seen. Season 2, episode 11. And also, if we're talking about Christmas TV show episodes, the Mr. Hanky Christmas holiday special from South Park is freaking genius. I actually just bought the record of this TV show. Um, where's it at? Was it season 1, I believe? Of Yeah, well, there was Mr. Hanky. Mr. Hanky the Christmas Blue, season 1, episode 9, is one of the best Christmas episodes ever. Um, and then you had, of course, Merry Christmas, Charlie Manson in season 2. And then season 3. Yeah, Mr. Hanky. Yeah, season 3 was epic because you had the Corn's Groovy Pirate Adventure. Corn was on, um, was part of that was the part of the Halloween special. The guys from Corn, one of my favorite bands. The Sexual Harassment Panda episode was really good, but then you had Mr. Hanky's Christmas Classics, and it's just a bunch of Christmas songs, and it's freaking hysterical. Cartman sings on there. Mr. Hanky sings. Um, so watch that. If you're gonna watch episodes of South Park or Christmas shows. I'm sorry. It's hard to do episode season by or show by yourself, but I'm trying here. But the succubus episodes in that episode or in that season too. Season 3, episode 15 is Mr. Hankey's Christmas Classics. I just bought the record to that a few weeks ago at a record store, so I highly recommend it. But I think that's all we've got. I've um, got racing news, football, Christmas stories, Christmas movies, um, Paul Williams. I think that's about it. But this was my episode, recorded live from apartment 62B here in Kokomo, Indiana. That is really not my apartment number because I don't want to be giving out my apartment number and location because I don't need all of our fans gathering around in the parking lot waiting for me to come out and knocking on my door. I don't need all women, I don't need women throwing underpants at me from, onto the balcony, and I just don't roll that way. I'm sorry. Um, if you want to date me, contact me the old-fashioned way. Contact us at the following. You can listen to us on Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube, I believe, as all of us. You can catch us on Facebook at Who's Your Nerds Podcast. And you can also get to us on X at Pod Nerds. So if you want to contact Kris and, um, you know, throw your hat in the dating ring and see if I'm up to that. I'm really not. This is all a lie because we got like 16 fans, if that. And they're probably all dudes that sit in their basement playing video games, living with their mom. But anyway, um, that is our show for this week. Like I said, coming live for you from apartment 62B. Did I say 62B? Well, it's 62B in Kokomo, Indiana. And if you wonder who's your nerds are, that is me this week or us. So give us a shout out, give us a listen, and hopefully I won't have to do this all by myself next week. Peace.